Trump dismissive as New York Attorney General accuses him of inflating his net worth by $2 billion. Donald Trump defended his real estate empire and his presidency in a face-to-face clash with the New York Attorney General suing him for fraud, testifying at a closed-door grilling in April that his company is flush with cash and claiming he saved millions of lives by deterring nuclear war when he was president. Trump, in testimony made public Wednesday, said it was a terrible thing that Attorney General Letitia James was suing him over claims he made on annual financial statements about his net worth and the value of his skyscrapers, golf courses, and other assets. Trump's lawyers released Trump's 479-page deposition transcript in a flurry of court filings ahead of a September 22 hearing where a judge could resolve part or all of the lawsuit before it goes to trial in October. James said evidence shows Trump fraudulently inflated his net worth by up to 39%. Or more than $2 billion in some years. Sitting across from James at her Manhattan office on April 13, Trump said, "You don't have a case, and you should drop this case." Noting his contributions to the city's skyline, Trump said, "It's a shame that now I have to come and justify myself to you." Interrogated about the truthfulness of financial statements he gave to banks, Trump repeatedly insisted that, legally speaking, it didn't matter whether they were accurate or not. "I have a clause in there that says, don't believe the statement. Go out and do your own work. This statement is worthless. It means nothing," Trump testified. Given the disclaimer, he said, "You're supposed to pay no credence to what we say whatsoever." In a legal filing Wednesday, James urged Judge Arthur Engoron to grant summary judgment on one of 7 claims in her lawsuit, that Trump and his company defrauded lenders, insurers, and others by lying about his wealth and the value of his assets. To rule, Engoron needs only to answer 2 questions, James' office argued: whether Trump's annual financial statements were false or misleading, and whether he and the Trump Organization used those statements while conducting business transactions. The answer to both questions is a resounding yes, based on the mountain of undisputed evidence in the case, James' special litigation counsel Andrew Amer said in a 100-page summary judgment motion. Even if Engoron rules on the fraud claim, he would still preside over a non-jury trial on 6 other remaining claims in the lawsuit if it is not settled. Trump's lawyers are asking Engoron to dismiss the case entirely. They argue that many of its allegations are barred by a statute of limitations, and that James has no standing to sue because the entities Trump supposedly defrauded have never complained, and indeed have profited from their business dealings with him. Trump, the front-runner for the Republican nomination in next year's presidential election, has been indicted 4 times in the last 5 months, accused in Georgia and Washington, D.C., of plotting to overturn his 2020 election loss, in Florida of hoarding classified documents, and in Manhattan of falsifying business records related to hush money paid on his behalf. Some of Trump's criminal trials are scheduled to overlap with the presidential primary season. James sued Trump last September, alleging he inflated the value of assets like his Mar-a-Lago estate for at least a decade. Her lawsuit seeks $250 million in penalties and a ban on Trump doing business in New York. Trump testified that he only had the financial statements made so he could see a list of his many properties and said he never felt that these statements would be taken very seriously, but that financial institutions would occasionally ask for them. Some of the values listed were based on guesstimates, he conceded. Trump answered questions with such verbosity at the April deposition, veering from evasiveness to bluster to filibuster at times, that one lawyer worried his 7 hours of sworn testimony could go until midnight. It was a reversal from a deposition last year, before James filed her lawsuit, in which Trump refused to answer all but a few procedural questions. At that earlier deposition, Trump invoked his Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination more than 400 times. Trump testified in April that his company, the Trump Organization, has over $400 million in cash. He claimed Mar-a-Lago is worth $1.5 billion, and a golf course he owns near Miami is worth $2 billion, or $2.5 billion. He said he believes he could sell another golf course he owns in Scotland to the Saudi-backed LIV Golf League for a fortune. Do you know the banks were fully paid? Do you know the banks made a lot of money? Trump testified, "Do you know I don't believe I ever got even a default notice, and even during COVID, the banks were all paid, and yet you're suing on behalf of banks, I guess."